Hoka. Good morning again, everybody. We're back here. We had this prearranged. So just for the viewers out there, we're doing another episode. And this is one of the cool things I think about this setup and the technology. um One of the ideas I got from Nathan Arias with IOPS. He was telling me, he said when he first started, he said he used to go live podcasts like 3 or 4 or 5 times a day. So I think that's one of the cool things. I just did one with Bailey this morning, and now we're doing this one. So with that, as you guys could see on the headline at the bottom there, one of the ideas we discussed with the guys here is to have a little episode to talk about hockey in Onion Lake, minor hockey with the leagues just kicking off. So yeah, with that, we'll get into it. We'll have a little quick introduction. We'll start to my right over here with Gary. Just a little quick intro, then we'll come around to the left, and then we'll come back and we'll open up the floor.
Good morning. Gary Wasco is presently an assistant GM to the Junior Border Chiefs. We're talking hockey. And currently a right D man for the Onion Rings with a +5 percentage.
Good morning, Counselor Timothy Chief here. Hockey dad, local hockey fan. Good supporter of hockey in Onion Lake. I really like the product that the kids put out these days, and I'm proud of all our athletes who are playing abroad and all over Canada and the USA. And we'll discuss that a little more. I had a PTO with the Onion Rings, and I was released because I wanted a no movement clause, and they wouldn't agree to that. So I told Blair that I was going to look at his contract, and we'll discuss that later down the road. But yeah.
Hey, Kyle Dillon, number. What's my number again?
10.
No, that's Myron. Man,
5? That was 5.
No, number 74, Onion Rings. Defenseman, fourth line.
We don't have a fourth line.
I don't back check at all. No, I'm just an avid hockey fan. I used to play hockey. Actually, Fraser was my partner growing up in minor hockey, and yeah. So
Yeah. Welcome again. Yeah, welcome, guys. I'm glad you guys agreed to do this. Yeah. So I think, as we all know, hockey's been really big for our community here in Onion Lake for as long as we could remember. Maybe Gary knows when the old arena was built, and the way kind of things took off from there. And then we got the new arena, and minor hockey's always been big. Even senior hockey, junior hockey. But anyway, with that, I'll open up the floor. Whoever wants to lead us or take us in a direction, it's totally fine and cool. It's up to you guys. I'm pretty sure the viewers will enjoy the stories. So with that, I'll open up the floor.
Yeah, maybe I'll get it going here. So just the history of hockey in Onion Lake. I don't remember the old days, like the 70s and 80s, but for the viewers that don't know, and maybe you hear your mushroom stories and things like that, your parents, your uncles. The Border Chiefs were a pretty prominent team back in the day. In the 70s and 80s, they used to they'd basically be a top team all the time in the old Big Four in Saskatchewan. You could actually go on the old Saskatchewan website, and you can see the score leaders in the 1980s. 80% of that time it was an Onion Lake Border Chief at the time. There's a few names that are on there that would pop up, late Sandy Muskego, and people like that were really good hockey players that no one ever seen them play. And we have a really unique hockey history here in Onion Lake. And unfortunately, that was an old arena. It was all made out of wood, and I think it was shut down in about 1990 or 91 in that area, 89, 90. It's kind of funny they shut down right after Oilers won their last cup. So it was shut down. That it turned into a warehouse there. We see for housing now. So if you go there, the old sports ground beside Chief Taylor, that was our old arena back in the day. A lot of our older fans will remember that. It was a prominent place, and they talked about back in the days after the hockey game, everyone would leave the hockey game, didn't go to the hall next door for a fiddle dance or a round dance or something was going on. So it was a vibrant area at the time. Like Gary's having some flashbacks here. I can see a tear coming down his eye here.
Man, I remember those propane tanks. We used
Yes.
to play hockey right beside them, and when
Yeah.
there's a hockey tournament.
Yeah.
What about the Zamboni thing? How did that
Oh.
work again? I remember funny
Well,
stories about that.
you actually during a hockey game, a Saskatchewan hockey game, you can actually get in free if you're one of the scrapers.
Oh,
So-
okay.
And the scrapers were on the far corner, on the south west corner.
So they didn't actually have a Zamboni. They had guys.
No, this had a
scrape-
barrel.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Later years, towards the end, we had a tractor with those old Zamboni hookups.
Yeah.
Oh, the attachments.
Pull in
Yeah.
the back, little water sprayer. Yeah, I
Yeah.
remember that. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
But the barrel was only one time thing before the game, and then in between periods, it was just scraping the ice.
Yeah.
So,
Hmm.
but the Border Chiefs were, I think, 1972, I think was the first year the Border Chiefs played as the Border Chiefs. Before that, they were, of course, the Braves. You had the Gold Eyes. We had lots of teams,
Yeah,
right, over
yeah.
the years. But I guess the main one was always the Border
Yeah,
Chiefs.
yeah. I remember there was a time there where the contact team was the Border Chiefs. The rec players were selects. Some
Yeah,
like they
selects,
Yeah,
yeah.
selects. There's a couple of teams there. Then it came along when their new arena came. So there was a time between 1990 and 1995 where Onion Lake didn't have arena, so the kids that wanted to play hockey. So actually, what the Border Chiefs did for those 2 or 3 seasons, they actually rented ice.
Mhm.
I think there's a couple of years they rented ice in Marwayne, and a couple of years they rented ice in St. Walburg. And as for the kids that played hockey, we didn't have a strong minor hockey back then. But I remember for our age group, the Pee Wee boys, there was probably about 12 boys in our group. They'd send 6 to Paradise Hill, like Lake Big A and Shane Whetstone. These boys would go play in Paradise Hill. And the Cooney boys and me and Dana Muskego and all those, we'd go to Marwayne. So it'd be split up, So 6 and 6, and
Yeah,
they just because each side couldn't take all the boys, right?
yeah,
So
yeah, of course.
so they'd have a little meeting, and the ones that stayed in Paradise Hill, they actually stuck through those in Paradise Hill for those 3-4 years, and we stuck in Marwayne those 3-4 years
Yeah.
until 1995. So that's something that's starting to think about. Onion Lake, we don't think about our arena, but in 1995, like that was like Gary will remember this. These guys probably remember this as kids. That we had hockey tournaments here for every weekend for the first, I think it was 2 months. The arena was open.
Mhm.
It was packed, and everybody wanted to come see this new barn. And it was a different time when people weren't getting arenas. Reserves weren't getting arenas. Now, Big River has a beautiful facility. Thunder Trail has a beautiful facility. People are building this nice infrastructure. So just going on that, we've had some discussions. We talked with minor hockey. It's a 30-year anniversary coming up here in the spring. I think we should celebrate in some way. So a 30-year anniversary. I think a minor hockey tournament and
Mhm.
probably an adult tournament on the weekend. Recreation, old timers, whatever. Right, to have something to celebrate, to commemorate. One of the other things that I've talked to leadership about is every 4 years when the Olympic comes out, the women's Olympic hockey team, they play junior teams as warm-ups, right?
Mhm.
So I said, why don't we, as a Treaty 6 territory, invite Team Canada women's? They come to Lloydminster all the time. They come play they either play the Bobcats or the AAA team, and they'll have an exhibition game. And these are warm-up games. It's just they have 30 girls rostered, and these are actually tryout games for them. So what girls are going to take overseas, and they start playing these games in November and December. So so we'll be trying to reach out to Hockey Canada and try to set that up. Hockey Canada is a prominent player in Canada. They're a powerhouse in the world when it comes to hockey federations, and so that'd be something unique for our young our young male athletes under the age of 21 to play the women's national hockey team, a Treaty 6 All-Star team or something, whatever. Canada, this is the problem. Hockey Canada sets the guidelines of what kind of players you can ice against their women teams, right? So there'd be some strict guidelines, but it'd be something unique that Onion Lake could celebrate, in a commemorative year, as the 30th year anniversary. But that would be, next season, obviously, because the Olympics are in 2026 and the following year. So we have some exciting things to look forward to as a nation. You know, we got winter games. Minor hockey season starting up here in a couple weeks. I think we got the thing that kind of excites me is actually I went to the U7 and U9 practices. There was about 9 little girls playing on those U7 and U9 teams. So the growth in the women's game is actually really going up. We have our first university athlete playing hockey in Saskatoon, which is Jacqueline Chief. She's playing defense her second season at the U of S Huskies. Our first band member to ever play U Sports hockey in Canada. So that's something exciting, something we need to celebrate as a nation for sure. So
Yeah. Just really quick before we just something you touched on, the international teams coming to Onion Lake. Maybe I think we all remember in the 90s we had some international teams come here for some exhibition games. I think we had Team Japan, we had Team Russia, and
Czech Republic.
Czech Republic.
Yeah.
Twice.
Yeah.
Three teams that came. Yeah, I remember I was just like a 10-year-old boy, and me and Kyle, we were, we hung around the arena a lot. But yeah, I remember watching those games, and they were like real high level. And the one time, one of our teams beat one of the teams. I don't know. I just have
Team
really,
Russia.
really
That Russia game, yeah.
No, actually, that was the Czech Republic.
Czech Republic?
Yeah.
went to overtime.
Yeah, no, it was like 4-2. Okay, so how I remember this is because that was the team that they actually brought in Ted Nolan to coach
Yeah.
that
Ted
game.
Nolan.
Ted Nolan, the NHL coach.
The Rage. Yeah. I
Yeah,
remember
yeah,
that.
So
Yeah.
there was they used the Beardy's Rage jerseys at the time. It's a junior A AAA program. They brought in we had about I think 4 or 5 local boys playing at that time. Yeah.
Jordy.
Yeah.
Myron,
Jeff.
Donald, Jeff.
Timmy Carter.
Timmy Carter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So those were all. And if people don't know, at the time, Timmy Carter and Jeff Heaton were actually Labret Eagles at the time. That's the junior A program.
Yeah.
So they're kind of our couple of our first boys ever played in the SJHL, which is pretty exciting. And this is the thing that kind of surprises me as a nation. For all the hockey players we have produced, we haven't had one player playing the AJHL yet. And I was like, that kind of blows my mind. Like we had boys in the MJ, the AJ, we had the OJHL. Like we have players all over the place. But
Adrian
Yeah.
Stone played with the Lloyd
Lancers?
Blazers, but that was in the SJ.
Oh, when
they
they
were
played on the
in the
Saskatchewan
yeah.
side. Oh, okay. So that was a while back too then. Yeah. There's a couple of situations like that. So we had boys, in the old days, boys played out in the WHL. Barry McDonald, I think, shout out for the Moose Jaw Warriors, was it? They're Moose Jaw.
Yep.
Yeah.
Medicine Hat.
Medicine
Tigers.
Hat Tigers. Yeah. We had boys go to WHL camps, and yeah, we have a pretty awesome history of hockey here in Onion Lake for sure.
Yeah, Kirk Chief with
Laurent. No, Flin Flon.
with
Pass.
OCN.
Oh, yeah,
was it?
OCN. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome how we have we got tons of boys playing for the Bandits, before they had their own program. Maybe let's talk about that. Like, I think the excitement of junior B is it's kind of we have a love-hate relationship. Is that we don't appreciate the product on the ice, but in the 1990s when we bought a junior program to Onion Lake, he said that was our you couldn't even find a seat at the games. They were sold out. The fans, you'd have 500-600 fans at every home game, even if they were playing a lower seed team, and nobody cared as long as they won, right? So
Yeah.
they had a pretty awesome team that year, and they had Hani Elzine and Dennis Perlat, all these old guys that came in and played. I think that's the times have changed in that sense. Like there wasn't Outlaw Hockey League. There wasn't many First Nations Junior B teams in Canada, let alone Western Canada. So this all these you collect a lot of First Nations talent, a lot of played First Nations boys, because for the boys that played at higher level, you sit in the AAA room and you have one native kid and 16 non-native kids. It affects them, right? It's that we have that we're tribal people, and we understand that we when we get out of our zone, it's but hockey, like for a lot of people, especially for myself and my kids, it's hockey is healing in a lot of ways, right? It's something that we enjoy to do, and there's fun hockey, like we talk, like the onion rings, and they asked me, said, "Come play. We're gonna play Fort Pitt." I thought it'd be an easy game. It's like, holy frick, Fort Pitt is like freaking bombing us. It's like,
Yeah.
is this the real Fort? Like the ones down the road, like
Yeah.
the colony, and it's like they had like freaking draft picks from the Minnesota Wild or something.
They had a real big cheering section too.
Oh yeah,
Eh?
yeah.
Oh yeah,
It's like,
they got quite a cheering section there.
it's like the onion ring wives look pissed off, like mad and grumpy to be there, and the hot rate wives were just every they made a good pass, they would yell. Just,
Yeah.
where the hell's our support?
Yeah. Nobody in the stands.
Yeah.
Just going back to that conversation when we first brought our junior B team here, I thought that was probably one of our most successful seasons. The pace was awesome. The arena was packed. It was loud. It was
Mhm.
good hockey, and that's what we're trying to bring back to our community. That hockey pride, and it's starting off with our junior B hockey league, competing in the northeastern Alberta. Also, what we're trying to aim for too is trying to get our senior program up and going again. So we're thinking of, well, we still just in the early discussions with the president of the Prairie Hockey League. So hopefully get our foot in the door there and get our older generation going again, because
for
we do
sure.
have a lot of good
Yeah,
hockey players
yeah.
in Onion Lake.
Well, if you think about it, just having an arena here, we produced hockey kids that came from non-traditional hockey families. So what that means is that you have kids that try playing hockey at 6, 7, 8, where their parents or grandparents never played hockey. So
Hmm.
so that's what it did, right? And you have a different generation of, especially with the girls. The girls, Late Wiley Dillon was probably our first female hockey player on Onion Lake
Yeah.
who really actually played. She played for Team Sask, and
Hmm.
so these blaze trailers that actually set up a precedent for these next generations. Now we have that's something we need to celebrate. We have a U18 female full team. Like we got 12 skaters, a goalie,
Hmm.
and they play in a league, and they need to be celebrated. And I think it's the U11 girls. They have enough twice their own team as well. They have girls kind of playing in Lloyd and Lashburn and kind of spread apart, but when they come together for winter games, I said they have enough twice a team. He said that's
Hmm.
something to get excited about for sure. And like,
Hmm.
and even going back to that, like the junior B, like Gary probably remembers this, the very first couple years that you know the junior B program actually had relationships. They had relationships with Camrose Kodiaks, and I remember a couple of boys they affiliated. They went and played a couple of games in Camrose when they were shorthanded. I think they played in Lloyd and Bonnyville. The regional
Mhm.
regional they're called regional call-ups. So if they were short players and they were in a region, they needed a junior B player. There's a few situations like that. I think it was before Onion Lake had a program. I think Jeff and Donald and there's a few boys playing up in Lac La Biche, and they actually affiliated. I think it was at the time Sherwood Park Crusaders or something. They were in Fort McMurray or some one of those junior A teams, and but
Mhm.
I don't know if they actually got a gaming, but they signed affiliate cards, right? So
Yeah.
the relationships have changed that way, right? I mean, on the other side of it too is Hockey Canada. Hockey Canada has been under a lot of scrutiny the last few years. Like, if you pay attention to junior hockey right now, the NCAA is actually going to be taking a vote. So what that vote is going to say is our CHL players going to be allowed to come play in the NCAA. So right now, you can only if you play in the WHL, OHL, or Quebec Major Junior Hockey League, you're ineligible to play in the NCAA. So that's why you see a lot of kids going the junior A route. They'll go to the junior A route, and then they'll try to get a scholarship. That's when they'll go to Michigan or Boston College or
Oh,
Denver.
okay.
So because people used to ask, why the hell is like Cale McCarr playing junior A? He obviously dominated that league. And in the old days, when these guys did that route, they'd play junior A like Mike Comrie, Danley Heakley. They played in St. Albert and Calgary, respectively. They played in that league. Then they'd go to Michigan State or Michigan University. Then they'd get scouted from there. So what the NHL scouts did is they actually, instead of waiting for them to get to college, they started coming to these junior A towns. So now these junior A teams, they have showcases at the beginning of the season. They'll play 4 or 5 games in Calgary. They'll have a big turn, like a tournament style, at the beginning of the season. They'll showcase all their players. So NHL, NCAA scouts, he said there's probably 300, 400 scouts in the stands. So that's how Cale Makar, like he was picked right out of junior A, right to the NHL draft, even though they knew he was going to go to Denver, Colorado for a couple of years. So that's what I had a hockey dad come up to me a couple of years ago. His son was playing AAA, and that's what I said. He said, my son has a couple options. I said, I would, if I were to give you any advice, I said I'd take the AJHL route. He said, why? Because you have more opportunity for for USA scholarships, right? And USA scholarships is even if you don't get scouted and make it to the NHL, he said you still get that free education. You get that scholarship. You get to go to school for 4 years. You get a degree. And not only that, you get more semi-pro opportunities out of that. You can go to Europe or Japan or Austria. He said there's just a lot more opportunities where when people graduate out of WHL or OHL, a lot of those kids they get stuck in university hockey, or they got to go try in the East Coast Hockey League, which is fine. There's actually been kids that made it from the East Coast Hockey League. There's been a lot of kids that made the NHL from the AJHL that we don't recognize. Colton Perienko from St. Louis Blues. He's actually from Edmonton. He never played in the AAA program. He played midget A. Fort McMurray seen him and playing in a tournament. They invited him to their camp. He made it up there. They coached him. He went to Midwestern University, I believe, or Bearcat College or something, and he got scouted from there. He was like a 5th round pick, and now he's a top 4 defenseman. Like so there's some kids that are late bloomers, right? That just kind of make it at the end. So, and that's what I was getting at. You want to get more looks as the longer you grow. As you grow, some kids develop, right? Some kids don't. And hockey is a really unique sport when it comes to like how do you get to the next level, right? There's many ways. There's hockey academies. They didn't have hockey academies in the 90s. That's why they didn't have the outlaw leagues that we have now. So that's why it's so hard. So when people ask how come Onion Lake can't get any players, we said there's a lot of competition now for players, especially First Nation players. So it makes it difficult. The recruiting gets a little bit tougher. Then you get the rec stars that wanted like Gary. They wanted to be paid to play.
Thousand
in a room players. I think Gary and those old border chiefs started that in the 80s. So.
Well, everybody wanted the border chiefs, right? So, but going back, to late bloomers, Onion Rings, Lyndon Martell is one of them, right? But speaking on the outlaw leagues, we had a shot at entering in the NJHL Outlaw League last season, or this season. Unfortunately, that didn't work out for us, and it's a Tier 2 Junior A, right? Mm-hmm. So lots of kids. We have probably 4 or 5 kids out there playing Tier 2 Junior A Outlaw League, right? Pay to play.
Yeah.
You pay to play, you make the team. If you got the cash, you can play. Unfortunately, that's how it is for First Nations kids, because a lot of the teams in the NJHL rely on First Nations to come in because the bands cover those costs, right?
Yeah.
They know they're going to pay. So what we were planning to do was, because of Junior A, people would come here.
Yeah.
Right? Now it's just Junior B. Well, should I go play Junior A at an outlaw league? 10 years from now, you're going to say, hey, I played Junior A, right?
Yeah.
So it's a tough sell now with Junior B.
It is. It really is. Yeah. And we see that, right? We see it in the stands. We see it on the product on the ice. On the other side of it too, back in those days, I was telling some of the younger boys, I said, back in the day, Lloydminster and Vegreville, those were the 2 powerhouses in the league back in the day. I said, well, like Wainwright and St. Paul, they were basically, you walk over them. He said, now every team's strong, right? Like that's the growth of the game, right? That's the growth of the product. Like, and I tell people, as I said, where hockey is really focused on skill is that when Gary Bettman, when he shut down the NHL in 2004-2005 season, they changed the rules. They took out the blue line. They made the game more focused on skill. He said, I know that kind of goes far a little way back, but if you look at the product after that, he said, man, where we have Crosby, Ovechkin, all these goal scorers that came out of that era, right? Like Corey Perry, all these guys that came from there. And it really changed the game for the better, where it's really focused on skill. Because remember hockey in the 90s, you had Darian Hatcher, who was like, he was like 6'10", but he had no skill. But man, you couldn't get around him because he could just chop you in the back of the neck, the old Dallas Stars, right?
Yeah.
So all their defensemen were all like they all look like Jeff Heathen.
Intimidating.
Just intimidating big guys in the back. Just hacking the back of the leg and just cross check you out of the front of the net. Now you can't do that; it's obstruction, right?
Yeah.
So you gotta be able to skate. And I tell the young kids that if you want to go anywhere in hockey, he said you got to learn how to skate properly. If you can't skate properly, he said you're going to be limited. And that's not me getting mad at you. He said that's the thing. That's how the world of hockey works now. Even to play junior A, like if you can't skate properly, people will skate around you. Like it's a different time for sure. Like
speed.
The game is so fast, and even just watching winter games a couple of years ago, watching our U18 boys, the amount of skill and speed, and how aggressive these boys are. That was some really really good hockey. So it's something exciting. I think that's a shout out too, because when we first built Rita in 1996, we got to host the very first Saskatchewan First Nation Winter Games here, and our U18 boys actually won the gold that time. So
At the time, they're in a midget category.
Yeah, midget. So U18 it was called midget, but yeah,
I think there was only like 7 of them.
Yeah, they had two lines. Yeah, so, and they still took it down, and that was
a lot of those guys came from St. Mike's and LeBret.
That's the thing. They we did all these boys, and that's not a knock on our hockey program, but all these boys came from AA programs, Midwest, and things like that, right? So they came in and they played together, and man, did it ever work, right? So
and they were awesome.
Yeah, they were.
Yeah, even another thing, like just for the viewers out there, we do have a couple guys that made it to the AHL. And again, that's Tim and Jeff, right?
Yeah.
So just for the young viewers out there, like the potential and the opportunities there. Just got to keep working on your game and your self-development. Even with the junior B, we had one of the players, Derek Sweetcoulter. He got drafted somewhere, right? And that's through the junior B program, right?
You boys.
Roddy Ross.
I could name a few that went on to play semi-pro from the junior B program. We had Ken Ufell, who's a 15-year-old that came to play for the Winterhawks, and then got scouted by the Laurens Ice Wolves as a 16-year-old. He was there to play junior A and stuck it out as a junior A player, right?
Awesome.
But there's potential when you play junior B. Lots of potential. So
I remember when the Winterhawks first started. I was 96.
No, 99.
99. Yeah, and like Kyle was saying, like I remember that year too, being a young teenager looking up to those guys. That was a really awesome year, really competitive, all First Nation boys, majority from surrounding communities and programs like St. Mike's and LeBret and all these other ones. And then that's when they were facing the international teams. They were making select teams, and the majority was from that first year junior B Winterhawk program. And then year 2, same thing. The product was high, the talent. And I remember they're playing like Sad Lake and Lloydminster, and those were like really wicked rivalries, real rough.
Yeah, I remember those too, man.
And the old that first time they played Lloyd in the playoffs, how the Civic Center set up is all the Lloyd people on one side, all the Onion Lakes
on the north side, on the north side of the ring.
kind of fitting, eh? The rivers in between us.
I remember too when those games would get a little rough. And then you have a young kid there, Owen Cullen there, little 16-year-old, well, big guy
Yeah.
still, and 16-year-old just tossing around these 20-year-olds, man, and guaranteed to win, man.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, you had Donald McDonald, you had late Marcel Jenkins,
oh yeah,
So,
you
Marcel,
had
yeah.
Jeff, and you had yeah, man, it was like the
Shane Noon was a big guy back
Oh,
then
yeah.
in 17. Yeah.
And then I remember too, right after that first and inaugural year, I guess you want to call it, they went on. Some of them went on to play with the Eagles and
Yeah.
took on won that Saskatchewan League. Eh,
Yeah.
that was a deadly year of hockey. And
Yeah.
Mr. Gary Wasquich,
Was on that
Eagle
team.
alumni, yeah.
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 Dean Gamble,
Yeah.
who else? Barry Mack.
Yeah, so maybe for the viewers that don't know, when the Community started, we actually had like every program, midget bantam. Every division had a team. Well, at the time we didn't have junior B the first couple of seasons, but we had two senior teams. So Saska, that was actually the big four back then. Eh?
Mhm.
So that was like Lloydminster, Battleford. It was kind of a double A. And that's kind of where our top end guys played. Then we had the Saskatchewan, which is Rob Larson's team. And those were the kind of guys that the second tier, like a B league, right? But it was
Yeah.
actually still good hockey,
Oh,
like
yeah.
back in the day. Then I think after 2 years, that league actually folded, and like Lloyd had to move on to different leagues. I think they went to the Sask West and then the AAA league. So that kind of, then Saskatchewan kind of was the only league for a while. So our boys played Saskatchewan. Then they had that other league with the Eagles there. There was Lou Lake, Coal Lake, Lloyd, in early 2000s. Remember what that league was called? Wild Goose, or back
Yeah,
in the,
Wild
the old
Goose.
Wild
Yeah,
Goose league. There was a couple
yeah,
of seniors, and so Saskatchewan has always kind of been there. It's been there the longest. It's always been. Now Saskatchewan is actually a double A league, and it's actually if you ever go watch like Paradise Hill, Lashburn, like we have a couple of boys that played in Lashburn. It's really good hockey, like really fast, really good senior hockey, and it's exciting. So just like I said, a lot of the junior B boys that graduate from that program, that's a lot of end up in the Saskatchewan league, and it's actually really good. It's a working man's league, and they understand that, so they keep all their games on the weekend. There's not much weekday games, and it actually works out really good for those guys, right? So
yeah. And the minor hockey, we had the Step League in Saskatchewan, and then the Alberta one is the one right
Neil.
now.
I think it's called Neil, Northeastern
Oh,
Alberta. Yeah.
Yeah, which is where we're at now with our minor hockey. Another thing I wanted to mention that Tim reminded me of when he was talking. I remember few years ago there was discussion of the casino development in Lloyd, and they're talking about building a new arena,
Mhm.
kind of like a WHL capacity arena, and I think that's something Lloyd was targeting. I don't know if that's still in the works right now. Like I know they're developing, but I don't know the plans on
It's
that.
actually going to be actually they'll be playing it next fall by the sounds of it. So if you don't recognize that the Civic Center was built in 1971, so that's already an old building, right? And it's actually condemned. If you talk to the city manager, Lloyd Minster, he said they kind of get a year-to-year permit to operate that. But if you ever got dressed in there, there's dressing rooms right under there. And there's a lobby, then there's a kitchen, then there's an ammonia tank there. So it's kind of has a dangerous setup, right? Like it wasn't like at the time it was just kind of built. That's how buildings were built. Like I don't know if people remember doing Lashburn Arena too. It's just like the dressing rooms right under the lobby, and it felt like people were gonna fall through when you're getting dressed. It's just it's a different times for sure. But yeah, no, the Lloydminster Arena, it'll be ready. I want to say the fall of 2025.
Yeah.
And then with that, like you said, it's gonna have like I don't know if you've been to like Coal Lake where they have the bowl style arena, and then it has the community rink beside it. So that's kind of the model that that build these centers. That's what they do. So the argument Lloydminster had is when they actually built the service center back in 2006, 2007, they didn't put in a bowl arena. Like that's what they said. We should like well while we had that service center, we could have had one small community rink on the side and then one bowl arena.
Mhm.
They didn't plan for growth, right? So now because they couldn't, they they tried to. They thought about putting the junior A team there for a couple of years, and they just said it just because of the. If you ever been in there, you got to stand along the glass, or you got to sit really high, and there's limited seating, right?
Yeah.
So we don't think it'll work. So yeah, so it's kind of exciting times. It's I think that's going to be like a beautiful facility, and you know, like at our level, at the government level, we got to discuss. Okay, we're going on 30 years of Onion Lake Memorial Communiplex. What's the next steps, right? Like we gotta. It'd be nice to refurbish it, to gut it out, and make it more modernized. Make the viewing seating, make it a little bit nicer. Redo the dressing rooms. The concession area. Redo the offices and modernize it, right? So I think that would be a good idea going forward. But like that, getting the costs and the usage and the thing we like about the arena right now is actually the location. It's easy to find. You come in Tunny Lake and it's right there for visiting teams. It's easy for them to find it. They don't gotta drive through anyone's backyard or to the east side of Onion Lake or anything like that. So yeah.
Yeah, so going back to just for the young viewers out there and the parents, a few years ago, yeah, I had the privilege of sitting in on some of those planning meetings for development for that property in Lloyd. And I know a WHL team was on the radar. So, and that was from Lloyd. So, they agreed to be a part of the development there, giving permits and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, just for the young viewers out there, I'm pretty sure that that's still on Lloyd's radar, like a WHL team. So for the young viewers out there, like keep that in mind with your own minor hockey development, going through that, your own personal development, working on your physical health and exercising, like the opportunity is not only there, like it's everywhere, but yeah, like just keep working on your game and staying fit and active and exercising. So yeah, just the little message I wanted to get out there for the young ones. Okay.
Yeah, just maybe when we're talking about hockey here, we've got the weekend. I know the Junior B started a couple weeks ago, so they're playing in Killam Friday night, or they're playing Friday night, and I forget where, but they're at home on Saturday against Killam. So home game Saturday, and I don't know. We should have brought some free tickets to give away today.
Yeah. We can do it.
Let's do it.
Yeah. Well, I'll do a draw. I'll do
Awesome.
wheel of names at the end of this program.
Sweet. Oh, it's exciting stuff. So just going forward, I think that the history of hockey in Onion Lake is something that we need to be proud of as a nation, and we don't hear the stories enough. There's not we don't archive at the arena. I think we should have pictures of all of our boys that played junior A or made it to a higher level. A lot of places do that. We haven't showcased our talent, and just recognize even some of the volunteerism. I think about our buddy Jay Champagne, and he's been a rink rat since the day that building went up. And he gets excited every time it's the fall and he sees the Zambonis coming in and they're putting in the ice. That's his. He's at the arena from September to April to May, right? So he's one of the ones that team. There's actually a funny joke about not a joke about Jay, but I remember back in KRP started was about 2000 or 2001, and Gary phoned him. He was live on the radio, and he was asking about the game against Lloydminster, and he was just getting mad, and Jay was just getting mad on the phone. He's like, "I don't like Lloydminster, stick boy. We don't like each other. We might fight one day."
Well, today speaks of the Vegreville Stick Boys, so. Yeah. They kind of have a rivalry. I'm not going to wear a helmet like he is.
Yeah, it's some fun times for sure.
Yeah, Jay's awesome. He's always there, right?
Yeah.
And he's always like there for the team, whichever team he's helping
Oh,
out.
for
yeah.
sure. Yeah. Yeah.
Like last year with us with the Treaty 6 team. Yeah, he was like right in there with us, pumping us up and like yelling to the ref or the other side, like getting mad and but yeah, he's awesome. Really good energy. So I think right now, like with our minor hockey, did it officially start? Like the
Couple
league
weeks.
start?
Yeah, they've been
Yeah.
practicing a couple of
Yeah.
weeks. The league that usually didn't start till like about the the 25th, 26th weekend. Around that time, the league games will start, and the schedule will start for the boys. They play just whatever it is. Their 12 road games, 12 home games, whatever their season turns out to be. Some of the boys, some of the groups have to travel. Like you got Plamondon and whatever the Westlock, or some of them have to
Mhm.
travel. Like the girls, like Fort, because there's no teams in Fort Mac for the girls to play, so the girls play in their league. So like one weekend, it's almost like a tournament. They got to drive all the way to Fort Mac, and they play two home games up there and come back. It's a big weekend, and so when Fort Mac comes to this area, the girls they'll come play Lloyd, come play Onion Lake, and then that following evening or else the next morning, early morning, they'll come play Lloyd. They'll play 2 or 3 games in a week, and then they'll go home, right? So it's pretty intense for some kids' hockey, that's for
Yeah.
sure. Something to think about, and yeah, I know that the growth in hockey and the growth in games is just man, the preparation, the type of equipment these kids can wear. Like man, we like back when the arena first started, they guys used to buy sticks at the McHale Mall in an old wood, like an old plastic bucket, and old Sherwoods and Coho.
Audrey's store. Remember all the sticks in the corner?
Yeah, I used to get my Vic sticks from Audrey's store.
Yeah,
So
and
Co-
that's right.
Coho.
Coho, yeah. All wooden stick, and now they're all graphite, one piece, and freaking $300 a piece. It's kind
yeah,
of crazy how equipment has gone over the years, and yeah, it's awesome though. The thing I see cool is that these little kids, they can get color coded stuff now. They can get pan shells and matching gloves to match. It looks cool. Like just back in the day, all the kids, you can only just get black stuff. They had black gloves and helmets, and you couldn't get color coded stuff unless you
Yeah.
were a junior team or a pro team or something. So yeah, I know that's pretty awesome for sure. So let's talk about our goalies. We haven't talked about our goal. We talked about our players, but I like has a history of goalies. Like back in the day, my late Musham was he was a goalie at the
Oh, yeah,
at the
yeah,
residential
yeah.
school, and he played hockey. And I asked him that. I said, "Did you guys wear a mask?" He said, "We didn't wear a mask when he played at the residential school. They didn't have face masks yet, but when they started playing in the league, when they built the arena, they had masks, but they were just basically like a plastic cover."
Yeah.
And he said it didn't. And he said if you got hit in the face, it still hurt, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, and he has a unique history of goal, and I think one of our longtime goalies who still plays, Eldon Stick, and I think he was one of the first boys to make Bandits as well from Money Lake. A couple guys like that, and we've had like a lot of goalies go through our programs that never. Some guys started late and they're 14 or 15 because the team didn't have a goalie and they jump in. I think like Richard Chief was a player till he was an adult and then he started being a goalie out of nowhere. So
Yeah. Same with Eldon's dad. Was a
yeah,
goalie back
Brian
in the
back
day.
in the day. Some old
Laz.
goalies, Laz Mason, the old border chief goalie. Yeah, there's a few of them.
Even Gagat.
Gagat played with the Border Kings, won the
Allen Cup.
league, and then
Yeah.
went on to win the Allen Cup.
Yeah.
And then when he win the
Yeah, you play for Canada. He
play
actually
for
got to go
Canada, so
play in
they went to Poland
yeah.
to play for Team Canada, and was quite an exciting
Yeah,
time
yeah,
for him at the
exactly.
time. So
Yeah. Played with the Man Boys. He played with
Yeah.
the Man Boys. I don't know if the people remember. Border Kings were a pretty prominent senior team back in the day. And
yeah,
they had some good talent. And I think '07 was the last time they won the Allen Cup in Stony Plain. And our buddy Mike Clegg was, I think, a backup or playing for them back in the time. And,
Mhm.
shout out to Mike Clegg. And, he can be giving us some promo gear right now, putting on the podcast.
yeah,
Yeah, Mike and Gagat.
Yeah, Mike Miyagi played.
Were they the two goalies that time they won?
His brother, I think,
Oh, okay.
Mike's brother, and then he played later.
Oh, okay.
So yeah,
The Clags have pretty good hockey.
Hockey blood.
Yeah,
Yeah.
hockey blood, eh?
Mike was their backup when they won in '07 and
Yeah.
started playing. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Yeah, even like speaking of goalies, like we did have a lot of good talent in that position. Like Shelby, he's still giving it, playing with our men's team. um and I think one of our up and comers, actually, I don't know if Kyle's okay with chatting about this, but I think Kyle's son,
Yep.
the first time I seen him, probably a couple years ago, U13, I think, or U15. But yeah, he's got a lot of talent on him, and he's got the size. He's tall, and just the way he moves on the ice. So I think he's someone to keep an eye out for, as the years go by.
he played Double A last year.
Yeah, played Double A last year.
Fortunately, he didn't make the cut this year, but I think it's pretty hard to make a team when you're like you said earlier about First Nations kids, right? It's not really fair for us. Unfortunately, when a local kid makes the team and you don't, it really hurts, right? Our program, anyways. But but in the long run too, it also gives us the opportunity to come back because now the U18 have a goalie, right? And it's going to help that team this year. So
Yeah, if I could get some advice to young Braden, I'd say just don't commit to the onion rings yet. Like,
yeah,
he's got a few good years ahead of you. That's
we've used him a couple of
yeah,
times, and I
yeah,
think he's getting really comfortable
yeah.
with the atmosphere. You know,
he got us our first win last year, actually. But yeah, no, I'm proud of my son on what he's accomplished so far, and he was a late born, like he's born in December, right? So all of his buddies that he grew up with are still in Bantam, right? So he's got to
Yeah.
always face that older competition,
Yeah,
which is something he adapted to pretty quick. Like just a little backstory on how he became a goalie. Like it was funny. We had a goalie back in Adam, I think Jace Harper. I think he got sick that one weekend, and then I asked Melanie, his mom, if I could borrow his equipment, and then all of a sudden Braden jumped in net, and he loved it, eh? So after that one game, he said, "Dad, I want to be a goalie." So I said, "Okay, this is a big step, and this is a big commitment you're gonna have to do because I'm gonna have to buy you goalie gear every year, and it's not, it's
not
like
cheap.
it's not cheap." So I took him to factory, brand new everything, and I said, Kate, no looking back now. So he ended up being a goalie. And then that tournament Fraser's referring to is actually pretty cute. It was back in when they were Adam. We entered a tournament in Paradise Valley. It was a tier 3 tournament, and we weren't even tiered yet. This is before all the tiering happened. So we entered that tournament, paid for the entry. Then we eventually got tiered, but we got tiered to tier 4. So we actually was already going to the tournament. This was late November, I think. And then we get to the tournament. All tier 3 teams, Edmonton, Paradise Valley, they were undefeated. Um, just top notch tier 3, but a higher caliber than us, anyways. And we were kind of middle of the pack in that tier 4 league that year. And then we go there, you know, playing these teams, knowing that they're in a higher division than us and whatever, right? But the kids they rallied. So we had there was a 6-team format, 3 teams on each side, or was it 8? It could have been 8. And then anyways, we had 3 round robin games. We went 3-0. And Paradise Valley and then the Edmonton team were on the other side, so we didn't get to play them during the round robin. So, anyways, Paradise Valley was super strong that year. They were undefeated. That Edmonton team ended up beating Paradise Valley, so they went 3-0. So we ended up playing in the A championship against them. And we're just thinking, oh man, we're probably gonna get dusted and whatever. And like the kids are kind of really down on themselves before the game actually started.
Yeah.
And then once the game got going, watching the warm ups, our little guys are real tiny still, still needed some whatever. And then you look at this Edmonton team, real deadly warm ups and real organized, just like we're playing like an academy team or whatever.
Yeah.
And we ended up playing first period. It was, I don't know, like 2-2 or something at the end of the period. Then all of a sudden we ended up beating them like 12-8 or something, eh? And the kids were just pumped about it, man. But the thing about that too is that was my son's first year in net, and that's where Fraser was referring to. I remember seeing Fraser there, and the shots were like 62
Yeah,
to
man.
18.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, I was very proud of our team that time. We
Yeah.
took down
Yeah.
that tournament with a higher caliber, and
Yeah.
that was pretty good.
No,
Yeah.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
And just to be, we actually have an up and comer on the girls side. Kenzie Caribou McDonald, who's the granddaughter of
Yeah.
Audrey McDonald, and she basically, she if you watch the girls play, she carries these girls on her back. So when she was only 15 years old, she played for U18. I took a bunch of girls in 2022 to the Wascana Cup for Carlton Blackhawks. They said big five players and a goalie. So I brought our girls, and I took four of our girls and Kenzie, and these girls actually went right to the finals. And they lost out to the Northern Selects, and only lost like 4-1 in the final. And Kenzie got picked up by a team from Ontario to go play in another tournament that year.
Nice.
So they recognized that she was only 15, and she's just one of those. Like you said, the goalie is kind of a unique position where some people just are drawn to it and they're naturals, right? They're usually a little bit the people that they just kind of love that position. And man, like most people, you tell them to be a goalie, and it looks funny. Like when you throw in a player in net, even if it's for one game, like you just feel sorry for them because it looks horrible. Like they can't go down, and
I heard a good saying from I think is Braden Holtby. Either his dad or Braden Holtby said that it's the most scrutinized position in hockey
oh, for sure,
because you get the most praises possible if you play an outstanding game, or else everybody points the finger at you
Yeah,
if you don't play the
exactly.
best. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
it is. Yeah, it's a polarizing position for sure. So I recall back in when, like I said, when the Eagles used to rent ice, and I think the Eagles played uh I think it was Cold Lake at the time. Cold Lake used to have an army base. I remember this me and we were playing with the Marwayne Bantams that time. I think there was me, Blair Quinney, PJ. We were just sitting around, and we seen that Ronnie Lake played a game, so we stayed and watched. And Laz got hurt right away. I don't know if Gary remembers this, but Laz got hurt like in the first 10 minutes. He got ran over or something, and he took his equipment off. They didn't have a backup, and they threw Gary in it. He ended up like robbing. He was like actually playing pretty good. Like, I think they still lost like 12-0 or something.
Yeah, that was a tough loss.
Yeah.
Actually,
I didn't know he knew how to play that. Like, I was like,
actually, I
okay.
played net my first time playing
Yeah.
hockey right till I think
Pee-wee?
Pee Wee.
Yeah.
Pee Wee, I
remember you
stopped
telling me.
playing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I
So-
remember Joe saying he used to win a tournament in Waterhen or
Yeah.
something back in the 80s.
Yeah, we took the selects to Waterhead, and we won a tournament there, and
Nice.
played net so all weekend. Yeah,
Right on. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, that's
so-
awesome. That's
Hmm.
awesome. Yeah, so that's good stuff, boys. Let's talk about the big boys now. Let's do some predictions. Let's talk about the NHL. NHL season kicks off
Opening
tonight.
night for our team.
Yeah, opening night. We're all Oiler fans. Is what they went through last year, and if you see that documentary on Amazon and how riled up McDavid was, these boys are competitive. If you don't know these type of personalities and these type of athletes, like they eat, live, and breathe hockey 365 days a year. Just see the old days, like the Wayne Gretzky days, the guys they'd be finished hockey in April, May, and they wouldn't, they'd just stay away from the rink. He said, no, the boys now, even the junior A WHL boys now, you basically got to start training from June 1st here. you're in the gym, you're eating right, you're working on your shot, you're working on your skating, and you go right to camp because like even the AJHL, SJHL, they start playing in the middle of August. They already do their conditioning camps and they start, and then their season starts September long weekend. Like they get into it right away pretty early. Same with the WHL, right? And NHL camps, like if you look at the NHL roster, like the schedules, like they come in on September 18th and they already have preseason game like 2 days later. Like they just start playing right away, right? So I mean, it's a lot of fine tuning, and there's so many players now. The game has the game has grown globally. This is one of the things I talked about when we talk about the old days too. Is that like the I don't know if anybody knows this, but as a nation, you can actually apply to the IIHF. You can actually apply as a tribal nation to play hockey. I know you couldn't go to the Olympics in the top 8, whatever, but if you look at the Iroquois Nation, they actually made a lacrosse team, and they were actually good enough to play Team Canada in lacrosse. Like they actually went to the World Cup of lacrosse as a nation, right? And I said, well, I don't know why the like when you watch the Freddie Sasakamoose tournament, you see the amount of talent that the First Nation players have at that level. I don't know why they don't apply for like even a Division 5 or Division 6, application, because you get to play like Finland's third team or Sweden's second team, whatever, right? Kazakhstan, there's global teams on there. Japan, Asia has teams like China. It'd be a pretty cool experience.
I think the newest one that was Nigeria that came in.
Yeah, Nigeria has a team. And there's actually a tournament in Miami, Florida. I know they're kind of they're flooded right now, but have a hurricane over there. But they have it's like a Latino Cup, they call it, and it's like Cuba, Dominican Republic, yeah. It's all Latin players, and and if you watch like videos of it, it's probably about our level. It's probably about our senior hockey, but they just love it, eh? And you can tell they're national teams, but they're poor countries, so everyone has like all mismatched gloves and old Cooper helmets. So, yeah, it's pretty cool, eh? So. And for the fans that don't know how Onion Lake got those international teams to come and play in Onion Lake, there used to be a tournament in Camrose. It used to be called the Viking Cup.
Yeah,
that's where. So you have U18 teams come play college teams, junior A teams, all-star teams in Camrose, and they stopped that tournament in 2004. That's kind of sad because. So what these teams would do, they'd come play in this tournament, but for them to fundraise for their next season, they'd play exhibition games. So they'll say, okay, we'll come play in Onion Lake or we'll come play in Lloyd against your junior team, but we need $3,500 as a deposit, so it goes to our fees. So people would pay that, and So I remember that because the time that they brought in Ted Nolan, like there was no seating on the far side. There's only one side, and they knew it was going to sell out. So they actually brought in temporary benches on the other side. They put in temporary benches, and every seat was full. And it was exciting. Like you said, we had local boys playing, and exciting. So
that was awesome. Even there's a tournament in Bonnyville where there was a couple of times they had some like international tournaments there.
The World Junior A Cup. Yeah. So that's where they'll have like Alberta will have a team, I think they'll have the Prairie team, like SJHL and AJHL will put teams together. Then they'll have the East Coast and they'll have Ontario. So it's kind of regional teams, right? Yeah.
And then I think Frog Lake was able to bring one of their
They brought in an exhibition game. Yeah, I remember that. It's pretty exciting. So some things to look forward to for sure. So
maybe something we could try if they ever have it there again.
Yeah,
I remember going to watch there one year, and Dylan Holloway was playing there. Team Canada West, I think it was.
Yeah.
That was just recently.
He's an Okotoks Oiler. Yeah. See, that's what I was getting back at earlier, right? They said there's so many boys that I tell them the AJHL is a hard league to make. It really is. You got to be really good. And but that's the thing is like NHL teams are paying attention to that league now. Where they're picking up players right from that league. They're not waiting for them to go to college and let other teams draft them, right? So if they really like these players, they pick them up. And like if you go on the archives. AJHL, if you just Google all the players that played in AHL, like if you go on Hockey DB, so there's a ton of them. There's lots of them, and I can name probably 20 off the top of my head, going back to the 90s, and that was good hockey, As for Lloyd getting a WHL team, I think that if I think it could work, but you'd probably be getting rid of the junior A team. That'd be the only change off. Right? The problem that Lloyd has over the last few years is that they have such an old barn, and that's in. You don't think that matters, but these boys want to play nice facilities.
Yeah.
That's where we are, right? Like, if you look at the NHL level, like like the Oilers when they had the old Rexall, they couldn't get free agents to sign there. It's because they had the oldest barn in the arena, right? It's historic, right? I kind of miss watching games at the old arena because when you sat on the second level, you still didn't feel like you were far from the ice.
Yeah.
You said now when you sit in the second level, it feels like you're a mile up. Eh?
They're
It's a different
steep.
feeling, yeah.
Mhm.
So what time's the game tonight?
8 o'clock.
8 o'clock. So we got Toronto Maple Leafs taking on Montreal Canadiens at 5. The Rangers and the Penguins at 5:30. Jets and Oilers 8 o'clock. Calgary and Vancouver Canucks, and then Avalanche and Golden Knights at 8 o'clock. That'd be some good hockey.
Yeah,
When's the Utah play?
They played last night. They
already.
played
Is that their first
Chicago.
league
yeah,
game?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. The league started last night, and
So-
they beat the Blackhawks 5-2.
5-2.
Yeah.
That's an old that arena they play in that was actually built for the Olympics in 2002 and when Joe Sakic
Oh, Salt Lake City. Okay.
when they won, Theo Fleury was a part of that team. Like that was controversial back then because I don't know if people remember Theon Fleury, the Métis player. He was actually in that player assistance program in and out of it at the time. He was battling some addiction issues, but he was a hell of a player. And at the time, Doug Armstrong, the GM for Canada, said, "No, I want this guy on my team." And then Gretzky and all these guys, they vouched for him. Like people don't know that. Steve Eiserman, they said they were trying to put another player on there, and they said, "No, we're gonna put Gretzky on. We're gonna put Theon Fleury on our team." He ended up playing really well that time. I think he played top 6 minutes and. That was a pretty awesome team. You think about it. They had Pronger on the back end, Eiserman. Like they had a stacked
Niedermeyer.
team. Yeah, Niedermeyer, just guys that can move the puck. And that was the difference back in the day. Like before the lockout, you didn't have puck moving defensemen, guys that can skate the puck and shoot the puck first. Now, like you didn't have 5-10 defensemen in the NHL in the 90s and 80s. Now, every team has 2 of them, like guys with skill and. Quinn Hughes is 5'8", but man, you can't hit him because he's such a good skater and he has such a smart hockey IQ, right? So really good, really really good. Like I said, so much skill in these players now. They start training, that USHL, that USA development program that's top notch. I said, once USA takes over the hockey market, they said that's it. Canada's not going to win a gold probably for another 40 years. I said it's kind of how way we're heading, right?
Yeah.
So. It's pretty powerful. There's actually a tournament coming up, that Four Nations Cup.
Oh yeah.
That's during the All-Star weekend in February. So I think you got Sweden, Finland, USA, and Canada. That's going to be exciting because you're going to see probably the first line is going to be McDavid, and they're going to ask him, who do you want to bring as a winger? He's going to bring Zach Hyman because that's just exactly what Crosby did when he brought Chris Kunitz to the Olympics. He said you think it's easy to play with these guys just because they're so talented. He said, no, it's probably harder than that. Like I said, you have to these guys are peculiar and they're really talented, and they know how, you have to know how to find them. You don't have to know what that chemistry, right? So I think about that World Cup in 2016, and at the time, Mike Babcock, he put 2 guys that hated each other on the same line, Crosby and Marchand, and then Marchand said, like he was the best winger that Crosby ever played with. He said, but they go back to the league and they hate each other's guts, right?
Speaking of puck moving defensemen, I remember Fraser back in the day. That's what he used to do. He was a puck moving defenseman, and I was the shutdown guy. And so we were D partners. Shoot, shoot, for like a long time. And I remember back in our midgets, that was that year they changed the midgets to 3 years. Do you remember that? That was when we jumped from bantam to midget. Anyways, when junior B Winterhawks, me and Fraser would walk over with our gear before the Winterhawk game, and Kelly Zacharias used to used to tell us to come to the arena wasn't telling us who's dressing, eh? And me and Fraser would be standing right where the the glass is, right when you walk into the rink there on the right hand side. And he'd be standing there, and he was like, "No, I don't need a puck moving defenseman. Kyle dress." So yeah, Fraser was pretty slick.
Yeah.
But old Kelly Zacharias wanted to shut down defensemen.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny how those terms they're still useful today, right? Like Adam Larson, he's a shutdown defenseman, but they're so invaluable these days, right? Like breaking the cycle and guys that have played that role for 20 years. The older people remember the old guy Ken Danico, like he couldn't score a goal, but holy crap, he was hard to play against, right? Like some of these old defensemen, man, they're hard to get around. We had guys like that. I don't know, like the border chief used to hate this one guy. I think his name was Brent Dallin. He was the captain for the border
Yeah,
for
yeah.
15 years. Everybody hated him. The fans hated him, but holy crap, he was a shutdown defenseman.
yeah.
But he was hard to play against. Like he was hard to go around. Like if you talk to some of these old players, it's like he was a SOB to play against for sure. So
Yeah, against. But if you had him on your team,
you'd love him.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of players like that people hate playing against, but love to have them on their team, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's awesome. You got Montour playing in Seattle. New contract, 7 years. That guy's he's an athlete. He plays lacrosse nationally. I think he played for the national lacrosse team. This is what I tell the young kids. I said, be a multi-sport athlete. I said that develops you, that the structure and discipline that you learn from other sports is so crucial, right? And not only that, I said, like I said, for these kids that try and skate 12 months a year, skating is not a natural position for your body, right? So that's what they were fighting. The kids that skated too much in the summer, they start having knee and back issues when they get older, eh? Like so I said that's what they say. They're not taking enough of a break. Like the thing we got into earlier about goalies, that's hard on your knees going up and down, for 2-3 times in a game in every period, whatever, eh? Like that's you gotta mechanically train those body parts so that to take that kind of body stress, right? So yeah, no, some awesome history here in Onion Lake and some crazy times for sure. But
Yeah, just on that note, I just want to give props to our Onion Lake Recreation and our even high school. I know hockey's big in Onion Lake, but at the same time too, like I think we're equally invested in the other sports like soccer and volleyball and basketball. So those are growing and emerging, and I think that's a good thing, and like you said, it gives the opportunity for our kids to participate in other sports. Could be summer sports, winter sports, and just staying active. So we do have a comment here from Myron and Dylan, and he's asking when. Here, I'll put it on the screen. When do the Onion Rings play?
Tuesday in Thunder Channel.
Oh, Tuesday in Thunderchild. What time?
I'm thinking it's going to be around 7:00.
Is that at their new rink?
That's the new rink.
Nice
So,
barn day out there.
We're just trying to fill up the charter bus right now. So if there's any fans out there, give Kyle a call. He'll arrange the seating.
$50 deposit.
Yeah, $50 a seat.
$25 entry fee to the game. So
You guys will get an autograph program from Binky, number 44.
So
We're actually gonna get our name bars done on our jerseys, just on one set of jerseys, and our nicknames are gonna be on there.
really,
I don't even know my nickname, so I'm kind of curious what's going to be on my jersey.
It'd probably be a keyword.
Let me pull it up here. Hold on. Let me pull it up here.
Blair and Myron are gonna be giving Indian names.
Yeah.
So Tuesday,
Magic
Thunder
Man.
Child.
Magic Man. That's Gary's nickname on his jersey.
So Tuesday in Thunder Child, you want to come out? I think we're going to be back here on the weekend. Ice is pretty hard to find here in Onion Lake because we have so many teams. We've got teams like the Wolves, the Northern Wolves. We've got The old timers, of course. Who else do we have on an onion lake?
Oh, I got the Braves. You
The
got a few teams
Braves,
there. Yeah,
yeah.
that's just shout out to all their adult players too.
Yeah.
You know, we got the Ice Wolves starting in Lloyd there at the Lloydminster League in town, and that's Chad Little Wolves group there. They got a few boys playing there, Dustin McClanner and all those boys. They got a pretty, it's a good competitive team that plays in a competitive league. Um, you got the Braves that play in the tournament season. There's some boys that the Ice Wolves. Shout out to Eric Wolf and his group. They got a bunch of boys skating again. That's what I like, guys that
Mhm.
quit skating for 10, 15 years. Just give an opportunity to fall in love with the game again, and start skating. It's
Yeah.
as you get older as men, we got to look after your health, your mental health, and it's actually really good. It's a good, the camaraderie in the dressing room, the joking around. You see a little bit of it here, but in your dressing room, man, the stuff that people say, it's crazy, but it's good for your mental health, and it just everybody enjoys the game. It's not serious, and it's a lot of fun. For people that then you got the opportunities for kids like Lyndon Martell that I don't know when's the last time he played, but he's just loving it, and he has that crazy two-line pass that he keeps missing. No, I'm just kidding.
I actually never played organized hockey before, so yeah, no, it's just encouraging for a lot of people that that didn't have that opportunity growing up.
Yeah,
And
it
it's a
is.
good time just hanging out with buds after
Yeah,
a work day or
yeah.
something. So
What I kind of find funny is that okay, you see Lyndon Martell out there, and he has the nicest equipment. He never played hockey in his life, and then you see guys that played for 40 years and their equipment's so shaggy. I'm like, come on, man! Like,
It's still their
yeah,
bantam.
yeah, yeah.
Bantams.
Right, they're still their bantam pants and helmet.
Yeah.
so
Well,
predictions for tonight
For the season. So who's gonna win the cup, boys?
for the season.
Well, we always want to say the Oilers, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
come
yeah,
on.
yeah. I'll start it off. Okay. I'm gonna predict that the Edmonton Oilers are gonna win the Stanley Cup this year. Why? He says because they've been to the final and that they didn't get weaker, they got better. Oh, they lost Dylan, they lost this guy. I said, he wasn't that great of a player. He only played
Yeah,
9 games for them. So what I'm getting at is that Draisaitl has never had full time wingers. He's always had kind of Yamamoto. He had
Yeah,
guys that always filled in. Now they went and got him Arvidsson. I don't know if enough people watch enough hockey, but 2 years ago when the Oilers almost lost in the first round to the LA Kings when they went to Game 7 in 2022, they almost lost that series because of Arvidsson and Doughty. Arvidsson's like a pest. He's like Hyman. So we're gonna have like two Hymans on our team. They're the guys that are really hard to play for. They're aggressive. The only thing with Arvidsson, you got to hope that he stays healthy. The other side of it too is you're going to have a healthy Kane. Kane wasn't healthy last year. Our two Gascateliases were hurt. Kane and Nurse on our team last year. Nurse admitted that he had a toe injury or a hip injury. That's why Nurse just started skating. He was off for most of the summer. So these long playoff drives, guys get injured in their physical style of play, right? So if you look at it, Kane's going to be back in October, November. He's going to be healthy, and
February.
that in February, and
Yeah.
that he's going to have
February.
he's going to have 15, 20 games, and then he's going to come in playing playoffs, and I think he's going to be dynamite. Not only that, the cap space that they're going to have at the deadline is going to incur to about $4 or $5 million because they didn't sign their offer sheets. So that's a good thing. So what does that mean? That they're going to be able to go and find a player that has a contract value of $4 or $5 million. They'll be able to bring them in, add them on, use their draft capital. When you're a contender like the way they are, you don't get guys like Corey Perry, experienced guys that want a cup and that have been deep in the playoffs. He said they only come to teams where they have a chance to win a cup. That's the thing. Like Skinner signing for $3 million. Arvidsson took less. The thing with the Oilers haven't had a third line center since Todd Marchand, like back in the 90s. Like they've always filled in guys. But if you go back to the 06 Cup run, what made the Oilers so strong is they had a third line center by the name of Michael Pekka. They picked him up for a year, and they had some center depth. They had Sean Horkoff, and at the time they had Jared Stoll, and like that's the thing. They had Chris Pronger, and you had Dwayne Rollison, who was like Gary, who just kind of came in and stole the show, right? So in net. So yeah, so the Oilers are they're cup favorites on the betting sites, and there's reasons for that, right? And you see the competitiveness of McDavid. I said he's not going to be denied this year. I can't see it. Like
Yeah,
he's
yeah.
more. Not only that, you have Chris Knobloch. If you look at Chris Knobloch's style, he makes the team responsible. So since he took over, he has the best record in NHL. Like since he took over, we're not even talking about Evan Bouchard, who has the third most points in the playoffs in the last 2 years as a defenseman. He has more than Austin Matthews, he has more than William Nylander and Marner combined as a defenseman. So this guy's a point getter, right? So they have all the things that you need to win a cup. You got a number one defenseman. You got a top three. You got top two lines. You have a third line center. Yeah, and then I think they're gonna pick up a top four D man at the deadline. I guarantee it's gonna be someone coming off a UFA like Adam Larson. That'd be a nice pickup because to bring someone back home and tragic what happened why he left the city of Edmonton, but that's life, right? So, and who's gonna come out of the East? Right now I'm picking the New Jersey Devils. New Jersey Devils because they finally got a goalie. They got Jacob Markstrom from Calgary. He's actually a really good tendy. And they got Sheldon Keefe, who's a really good coach. He was kind of underrated in Toronto. He had a couple of shots there, but they let him go. Not only that, they got those Hugh boys. They got Dougie Hamilton. They got a deep team. They got a fast young team. So it'll probably be between in the Western Conference Final. It'll probably be between Colorado and Edmonton, but I think Edmonton will come out. And then on the East side, it'll be probably New Jersey and probably maybe Florida again, right? So coming out of the East.
Of course.
Yeah. So it'll be an interesting year for sure. Like, and it's something exciting to think about. Utah is going to have a good team, but I don't think they're ready yet to go that far. So for my prediction right now, write it down, Fraser, keep it in there. I predict the Edmonton Oilers over the New Jersey Devils in the Stanley Cup final.
Gary?
I love to go with Florida and the Oilers, but certainly I think Toronto's due. Like Toronto's been rebuilding year after year after year after year.
They got Berube now too.
So
good coach. Yeah.
who knows, right?
Yeah.
I mean, this year could be the year. I mean, I'm a big Toronto fan. Before the Oilers came into the league, I was Toronto.
Yeah.
I was their main fan, and of course, never seen them live. But certainly, I always loved the Toronto Maple Leafs back in the day. Boris Holming and Daryl Sittler and all those guys, right?
Good.
So,
So back when they won the cup.
I don't even remember when they won this one. I don't think I even-
1967.
I think I was only 3 years old when they
Yeah,
won the
yeah.
cup. 2 years old when they won the cup. But yeah, going back, it's a long time, man. They're due. So who knows? So going back to who? Well, like I said, Oilers against the Panthers.
KD.
My prediction is the Edmonton Oilers will be playing the New York Rangers. Only because Adam Fox and their goalie Shesterkin. Yeah.
He's an awesome.
Those guys are difference makers, and New York Rangers. They've always been a competitive team year after year, just because of the market, right?
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
but I think they have the pieces that could get them there. But you know what? I would really like to see Oilers versus Toronto.
Oh yeah,
That would be something to have an all Canadian final.
That'd be nuts. That'd be something to see.
yeah.
But
even a regular season game when Toronto comes to Edmonton.
Oh, it's packed.
It's half Toronto.
I can't even get
fans.
tickets.
I know, yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think Oilers is truly the Canadian team of Canada because of the Canadians that are on the team, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're more than 80% of the team
Yeah.
Canadian. So
Yeah. Yeah. So for me, I think the question is, are the Oilers better or worse this year compared to last year? I think that's the $1 million question because they lost a lot of the players from last year, and they made it to the Stanley Cup final, Game 7, right? And with the team they had, and then they lost a lot of their grinders and their bottom guys. Um, so for me, it's a really tough call. Like, are they better or worse? And the way Tim described it, I see that.
Yeah.
But we won't really tell until the games start happening. Like in a month's time, we'll be able to tell.
Mhm.
But the one thing I'm banking on is the leadership and the experience. McDavid and Draisaitl. Stuart Skinner has another year under his belt, more experience. So yeah, to me it's a really tough call. I don't know. Colorado is a really good young team. They have McKinnon and those guys. um yeah, so but I am an Oilers fan. I'm cheering for the Oilers. So I'll be keeping an eye on them. In the East, New York Rangers, same thing. I always thought they were a lot of talent there, a lot of offensive talent, and the way they move the puck in the offensive zone, their defense. Yeah, so I think they'll go deep this year. um, so on that note, um, just before we go, maybe Kyle, if you want to touch on some of our promotions that we'll be doing with our different programs in the community, fundraising, just for the viewers, the community members to keep an eye out.
So this was an idea Fraser brought up to my um, attention. So basically, we're gonna try to utilize this podcast as much as possible, and we want to promote all our programs for our community members. So what we want to do is we want to have each program head here go over their departments and talk about their projects, upcoming projects, just the programs in general. So this way, our community members know which avenue to go once they ready to either get further their education or just training, all the opportunities that we have. Um, Also, we have Oiler tickets. So just be a I don't know, just keep your eyes peeled on this seventh generation podcast page, and yeah, we'll be doing a bunch of giveaways throughout the year. So yeah.
Yeah, just like for community events like the band meeting coming up, I think we'll have Oiler tickets for raffle. We have the community Thanksgiving dinner coming up. I know wellness is fundraising with Oiler tickets, and I think some other departments are. um, which I think is a really cool initiative, for our community. A lot of times making it to an Oilers game is tough. The cost is high, fuel and all that kind of stuff. So we will have Oiler ticket draws throughout the season. So yeah, just for the viewers out there, just keep an eye out for that. Yeah, and I think that's a really cool initiative and idea for the community to be able to provide that option for participants in community events and things like that.
Yep.
um yeah, so we're an hour and 20 into this. It is lunchtime. It's up to you guys. I think we'll have some closing comments. We'll just do a little quick roundtable. Maybe just your thoughts on this whole kind of podcast idea, like the value for the community. Like, is it a good thing? And just any kind of positive messages for the youth. So I think we'll start off to my right over here with Mr. Waskwich, and then we'll go to Kyle, and then we'll have the final words from our counselor here, Mr. Tim Chief.
Well, definitely, it works for the community, right? It brings out all the information that's much needed. I mean, we do have a radio station here. They can do so much PR work when they're on the air. But definitely, we're on Facebook, we're on YouTube, and we can actually go live with KR if we wanted to, right? But it certainly is helping our community. I mean, we can, there's lots of topics we've discussed over the last couple months, and this is our first hockey talk. So definitely, it's going to come back, and we're going to have some more of these further down the road, especially when the Oilers are in the playoffs.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. More hockey stories.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, like one thing I want to get into is the Gary's team age group and the years and all they've
The
been
history,
winning,
yeah,
right?
yeah, all
Like
those
the
years.
FSIN
Yeah.
on the Alberta side,
every year.
the Native Stanley Cup, and yeah, like I think there's a lot of cool stories there
Yeah,
that
yeah.
hopefully we can bring forward as time goes
Yeah.
on. KD.
Yeah, just my thoughts on the podcast. I think it's a good opportunity for every single member out there that wants to get a message out as well. So I would encourage you guys to reach out to Fraser in regard to that. Whether it's something you want to celebrate or something you achieved or something you're working towards, just a positive message for our youth and all our community members. So, but yeah, good job, Fraser. This podcast is a good setup for sure.
Thanks, Mr. Chief.
Yeah, awesome. Just we got to think about this generation we live in now. Where they're growing up in a time like we grew up in a time where the way you can watch hockey was on Hockey Night in Canada on Saturday nights, and then Satellite came along, and you couldn't now XM radio you can listen to it. Like now you can stream games. Like it's a different time. Like the NHL is changing. Like their TV contract comes up in 2025 with Sportsnet, so there's rumors that Netflix or Amazon is actually going to try and scoop in, and the salary cap's just going to rise. Right, the amount of money these guys are going to make, it's going to be huge. It's good because it's going to grow the game globally, right? But as forms of this podcast and information, any avenue we can have that we can send a positive message to our young people, to our community members. I said it's always a benefit, right? And I know a lot of our older people listen to the radio still, but not everybody has a radio anymore. Like everybody had a radio in their living room back in the day. No, no.
I still do.
Yeah. Some vehicles don't even have the newer vehicles. Some of them don't even have FM radio or AM radio. They just have satellite radio and Bluetooth now, right? So we live in a different time for sure. And this younger generation, like I always say, we're raising the smartest generation right now, and they're gonna technology wise, they're just gonna overtake it. They're gonna take the community, and that's a good thing, right? And that's a we want to fight change or we want to adapt to it and make it. Let's be progressive together, right? Let's all grow together as a nation for sure. Yeah, in terms of whatever we talk about on your hockey, sports, this is a good idea to have a conversation and just some history points we touched upon in the last. A lot of people don't understand our hockey history. Like a lot of these young players don't understand that a lot of the parents that bring their kids to arena were prominent hockey players in the 90s and 80s, that actually, that they brought out the fans. And, it's exciting thing to talk about for sure as a nation. So with that, just want to thank Fraser and his crew. And, this is a good idea. I'm sure we can do a mid-season update and, a playoff update here, just doing some hockey talk roundtable and, go from there, boys. Awesome.
Yeah. I don't know if I got. Yeah. All right. Yeah. We'll shut it down here. Thanks guys for doing this, and yeah, we'll do it again. For the viewers out there, thanks for joining us. And reminder: 4 o'clock today, Homemakers Club at the Round Hall. Next Tuesday, community Thanksgiving dinner at the hall. And on the following week, on the 22nd, we have a community engagement forum, aka band meeting at the Round Hall on the 22nd. So again, thanks guys for doing this. And for the viewers, we'll catch up with you guys again soon. Hi.